Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Alex, but I also go by German. And today, we're gonna be doing a deck profile on the Mathmech deck. This is one of my favorite decks I am currently playing with. Uh, had this about a couple months now, and I have been having a lot of fun with this deck. Um, so we're going just go over how it works, what the important cards are, and then um just what the general premise of this whole thing is. So first, we have Mathmech Sigma. What this does is if you don't have a monster in the extra monster zone, you can special summon this from the hand or graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. That part doesn't really matter all that much. There's ways around that, like going to an Xyz. It's a tuner. However, if it's material for a Mathmech card, it can be used as a non-tuner as well. That's pretty much the whole thing with this Mathmech Sigma. So yeah, there's not really much about this. The one you want, or the tuner you want to get out is Mathmech Nabla. What this does is when it's normal summoned, or I guess it's not an effect when it's normal summoned, but you can tribute one Cyberse monster and then special summon one Mathmech from your deck, and that pairs very nicely with pretty much all the Mathmech cards that can special summon themselves, since you can't special summon this without a third party to do it. So basically, you special summon, or you normal summon this, tribute one of your other special summon monsters, get out multiplication, and then this thing's effect is it makes it a level 8, and then you can go into your level 12 synchro. Really easy to do. Also pairs nicely with its secondary effect with both Nabla and multiplication. If Nabla goes to the graveyard, you can target a monster in the extra monster zone, or a Cyberse monster in the extra monster zone, and it can attack up to twice per turn, or up to twice that turn, considering if you're facing a monster or not. If you're not, it's only attacking once. If you can, it can attack a monster twice, which is really good for monsters that can't be destroyed by battle, such as I think it's the dragon, it's the rocket dragon synchro. What multiplication does is it once it goes to the graveyard, it can target a Cyberse monster in the extra monster zone and double its attack. So if you get the boss monster, which is Mathmech Final Sigma, out, what this does is it's unaffected by card effects except Mathmech cards, which is very important. And if it battles a monster and it attacks over it, where it causes damage, it will double the damage. Also, if it gets destroyed by battle or card effect, you can grab a monster. You can grab a Mathmech monster or Mathmech card, and then bring it to your hand for the next turn. So, what you want to do is use Nabla in multiplication, make this Mathmech, Mathmech Final Segment can now attack twice, and it has W attack, which is 6,000. Now, this also pairs nicely with the equip spell, which we will go over in just a second. Mathmech Addition and Mathmech Subtraction makes it so that you can target one monster on any side of the field, either increase or decrease their attack by 1,000. Addition increases its subtraction decreases, and then you can start summoning to the field. Once you do that, you are locked into Cyberse monsters, coming from the extra deck. So even though I do have non-Cyberse monsters, I won't be able to special summon them until the next turn if I use these effects. Next, you have multiplication. Like I said, you want to run these at 3 so that you always have access to them. If they get in your hand, it's kind of a brick, because you have to normal summon this. However, there's kind of a way around that. If you can get multiplication and addition, you can go into your Xyz monster, which is Alim, I'm not gonna say this right. It's this one. The UR with 2000 attack. What it does is when it's synchro or when it's XZ summoned, you can detach two to four materials depending on how many materials you make of this, and it gives you or make for this, and it gives you different abilities based on how many cards you've used. If you do 2, you can add 1 Mathmech card from your deck to your hand. If you use 3, you can add 1 level 4 monster from your deck to your hand. If you use 4, you can add 1 spell and 1 trap card from your deck to your hand. Now that's really cool because it's generic. If you have a deck that's that floods the field with level 4 monsters, you can easily get any monster, any level 4 monster, or any spell and trap card that you need to your hand. I am actually working on a different deck that may be able to work with this to some extent. So this card is very versatile. You can be in pretty much any deck that can flood with level 4s. Next we have Mathmech Division, and the least important part is you contribute 1 cyber sponsor in your extra monster zone, and special summon one level 4 cyber sponsor from each from your hand or hand-to-hand graveyard. Now that, not really going to use that unless you put this in the extra monster zone. But if you do, I mean, this is a tuner anyways. You can have Division, and you can just tune right into Final Sigma. So I have never once used this effect. However, one of the best effects that I believe it can have, or any card really, is that if it's sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 face-up monster on any side of the field and then half its attack. Now, this isn't very good with monsters that are that have target immunity, but that's why I only run it at 1, because it's very situational, since a lot of cards have that now. Then you have Mathmech Diameter. Well, all this does is when you normal summon it, you can target 1 level 4 cyber monster in your graveyard and special summon it. It can't activate its effects, which is why I only run this at 2, because if it can't activate its effects, it's not all that good. You can't get Final Sigma from just this card. Another thing is, if it's used for a synchro summon from Mathmech, or if it's used for a Mathmech synchro XZ summon, during that turn when an effect is activated, you can negate that. You can negate that effect. But that's only for that turn. So if they don't try to negate anything or pretty much activate anything, this doesn't really come into play. Then I am running 2 Gachiri at Ignister. Just a free level 8. You target 1 Cyber effect monster on your field and negate the effect permanently. And if you do, you can special summon this in attack or defense mode. You're not really going to be using this other than just for synchro fodder. However, the if you do is very important. If you try to just get a free level 8 on the field by targeting this, it's not going to work. So you have to have something that can be affected and can have its effects negated. So if it's already negated, you can't use Gachiri on that. Had to learn that. I had to find that out the hard way. So yeah, it's a big issue. Next, I'm just running the standard staples. You have Raigeki, Harvey's Feather Duster, and Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn can bring back any of these monsters. They don't have a must be synchro summon from the deck or from the extra deck. None of these do, so you can always make them. I don't believe any of these do either. Yeah, okay. So Monster Reborn can pretty much just work on anything here. I am running 2 one-time passcodes, so if I get Nabla in this counts as a monster. It's a Cyberse monster. I contribute it even though it's a token, and then special summon multiplication. So that's pretty much just an extender. 3 sign up mining, so I can toss a card and then add 1 level 4 lower Cyberse monster. Unfortunately, I don't have anything in here that likes to be sent to the graveyard on my turn, unless I already have Mathmech out or Sigma out. There's not much I can do about that. It's mostly just to get what I need. Then I'm running 2 Mathmech equations. It can special summon any Mathmech card from the graveyard, and then it gains its action attack at the end of the turn. This is mostly just used for an extender as well, so that you can go into whatever you need. Say you had this and this, and then you made Geomathmech Sigma. You can just, use Mathemech equation and then go into Sigma or Final Sigma. Now this is also a really important card in here, even though I don't see a lot of people running it. It's Mathmech Billion Blade. I'm not going to try to say that last word. What this does is if your monster is attacked or attacks at any time, you can send a Mathmech card from your deck to your graveyard and increase the attack by the attack value of that card. Honestly, there's not a lot of attack in these cards. However, if you send multiplication, it will go up to 3,500, and then you can activate multiplication's effect and double its attack, so it goes up to 7,000. And if you do that, anything with 3,000 or less will be OTK, since it does double damage, as long as you can do damage and kill it. Well, actually, not even if you kill it, but as long as you can deal the damage, it will OTK, unless they have, like, more than 8,000 life points. Next, we just have 1 breakthrough skill. Not many people run this. People forget about it when it's in the graveyard. You can, on your turn, react to an effect activation and then banish this and stop their effect from running, which is really useful. You also have 1 impermanence. I only have 1 of these cards. Even if I didn't, I wouldn't replace breakthrough skill, just because it's not something a lot of people think about. So I could probably replace induction, honestly, but I'm not going to replace skill. I'm not going to replace breakthrough skill. Next one, we have 2 Mathmech Superfactorials, and all this is you can target up to 3 Mathmech cards in your graveyard with different names, and then activate the following effects. 1 is to special summon them, and then immediately synchro summon a Mathmech monster using those cards. Now, all of these are shuffled into the deck, so you won't be able to get the effects as you normally would when synchroing something. That's also bad because you will have monsters that want them to be in the graveyard. Or, if you get Diameter, you need a monster in the graveyard to be able to special summon. I've had that kind of screw me over before. I used this. I'm like, okay, well, next turn I can just go into Diameter and then do everything, and then just figure out that I don't have anything. Okay, and next, I believe we were on, here we go. Armor Recall. This is so you can get Billion Blade out of your deck into your hand. And what's really cool is you can activate this when your opponent's monster attacks. Flip it over, immediately equip Billion Blade to your Geomathmech Final Sigma, and then send a multiplication. And this is actually a really funny way to pretty much kill your opponent, because they won't be expecting you to jump up to 7,000. So whatever they attack with, assuming they aren't crashing and they took damage, you would pretty much just win right there. Another one that I'm running is Skill Drain. It's very important to note that if Skill Drain is already on the field when you create Geomathmech Final Sigma, it won't get its effects. However, if you get Geomathmech Sigma before you get Skill Drain, it will, and you'll be fine. So make sure you have Final Sigma on the field before you activate Skill Drain. And I am running 3 Induction. This will probably take into 2. Honestly, I'm trying to get another monster in here called Mathematician. And what that is, when you normal summon it, you can send 1 monster from your deck to your graveyard. honestly, these ones are, it's not that bad. It's actually really good. You can just send a multiplication if you normal summon, and it has 1600 attack, so it's not too bad. And when you send this to the graveyard again, you can double this thing's attack, so not too bad. And when it gets destroyed, you can draw one card. Actually, I can go ahead and make that right now. Right. This go into effect and throw one of those and get one of those. There we go. It's a spellcaster, so it's on cyber, so there's a lot. It doesn't go well with just the main theme or typing of this, but it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. Now we only have 2 Mathmech inductions, and what this does is all cyber monsters you control gain 500 attack, and if you control a Mathmech card, you can send this card to the graveyard and then target one card your opponent controls and destroys it. So it's just a pop, a free pop. If you don't want to pop anything, you can have 500 attack, and if your opponent's baseline attack is 3000, this can make this go up to 3500, and there's not much they can do about it. That's the main deck. We can go ahead and move on to the extra deck. Extra deck, we have 1 Crimson Blader, and this is if it destroys a monster by battle, your opponent cannot special summon level 5 monsters or higher. Next turn, which is really good if they have a lot of monsters out that you can destroy, then you can pretty much just lock them out of synchro summoning at the very least. Not very good for Link or Xyz, but a lot of decks now like to fusion and synchro summon, so it's a good way to just kind of stop that from happening. And then we have Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. What this is you can activate this effect and destroy as many special summon effect monsters on the field as possible with attack equal to or less than this card, and inflict your opponent for 500 damage for each of the monsters destroyed. That excludes this card. However, since Mathmech Final Sigma is not affected, it will not be destroyed, and as long as your opponent special summoned all the monsters on the field, which happens a lot nowadays, you can pretty much just nuke the field and then attack twice with 3000. Yeah, it's just really good. And if you have multiplication out that was special summoned for any reason you don't have this out, that's just another way to double his attack and OTK. Then you have Draco Berserker of the Tinyi. Pretty sure everyone's heard about this by now. If not, what this does is when a monster activates its effect, when your opponent's monster activates its effect, either from hand, graveyard, or deck, or hand, graveyard, or field, you can activate the effect and banish it. And if it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, it gains the attack equal to the monster's original attack, and it can make a second attack during that turn. Next we have Geomathmech Magma. If it destroys a monster by battle, you can pop 2 cards on the field, so that's not too bad either. I believe it's only the opponent's monsters or opponent's cards. Yeah, your opponent controls, so you can't cheat out a multiplication or anything that you need to pop on your side of the field that gives you bonus. Then you got the boss monster, Geomathmech Final Sigma, which again is none. I went over this before, but unaffected by any card effects. So that means anything if they try to use Imperm. If they use Imperm, you can't negate it. However, it will, I believe, still negate any spell and trap cards in that build. So that won't work for Geomathmech Final Sigma. However, if you have anything in that build, then you will. That's still active. That's still active. Unfortunately, it does not say if you do. So that is unfortunate. Next we're gonna go ahead and go over the Xyz. We have Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, generic level 2 that allows you to pretty much gain a lot of attack points and attack over almost everything that they have. Then you have one Dreadnought, Dreadnoid, which if this destroys a monster by battle, you can, during the end of the battle phase, exes into a level 10 or higher machine monster. So you have Dreadnought Rail Cannon. Then you have this one. I don't know what this name is. Another Dreadnought Rail Cannon. But yeah, this is the one that makes it so that your card is not affected by card effects. And then you have the boss monster of the Rail Cannon or Dreadnought archetype. And all that is if you can you can detach one material from your from this card, and then it gains 2,000 attacks. It can also 2,000 attack and defense. It can also make additional attacks per turn or during that turn, depending on how many exes material it has. Which, if you use Super Dreadnought, you will have a total of 4, depending on if you would have gotten destroyed by crashing or something like that. And right, there's 2 more. Next is going to be this other Mathmech. It's the one that requires 3 level 4 monsters, and basically is if a Mathmech monster you control would be destroyed by card effect, you detach 1 material from this instead. And once this is XE summoned, you can detach up to 3 materials from it, and use the following effects: send one random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard, send 1 monster from your opponent controls to the graveyard, send 1 trap your opponent controls to the graveyard. Doesn't target, so there's not very much of a window to respond. It's not too bad, however, you usually don't have a surplus of level 4 monsters to make this. And lastly, you have this one, which I already went over. Basically, it's a generic rank 4, and you can gain a bunch of advantage on it. But one thing I didn't go over is that whenever you do, after you use its effect on XZ summon, you contribute 1 monster, usually this one, to summon 1 level 4 or lower, or 1 level 4 Mathmech card from your hand or graveyard. So if you have Nabla, or if you use this one, the Alimbertion, to get Nabla, you can tribute it off to get Nabla. And from there, if you, depending on what you have left, you can either go into Geomathmech Sigma. Worst case scenario, you have nothing left. You at least have 1 monster to defend yourself with. Unfortunately, there's not much left after that. So, this is the deck profile that I've been running with. It's been pretty good. I can brick sometimes. I have a lot of spell and traps. Unfortunately, there's just not a lot of Mathmech cards to take advantage of. I don't know what else I could add to this to make this more consistent. One thing I do want to know is I am not using any meta cards like DPE or any of the normal ones. So I don't feel comfortable adding those. I don't want to pretty much water down the Mathmech version just to include something that might be a little bit better to work with. I try to stick solely on 1 archetype while mixing in stuff that's in the extra deck or stuff that's in spells and traps to kind of make up for any lackluster effects that I have been running into. The Agnister, it's a exception to the rule because it's just a free level 8, and sometimes you can't get a level 8 instantly. So that's why that's in here. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any suggestions for what I can add that is not or within those parameters, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite deck is, and hope to see you in the next one. Peace.